Okay, trial run. Hi friends, this is my first time filming myself. Um, in the interest of time, because I don't know how long my battery is going to last and I don't know how long I'm going to have daylight, I already went ahead and put my foundation on. I am going to just do kind of a quick run through of the steps that I typically do for just a normal, everyday face, leaving the house to whatever, go grocery shopping, go get lunch with somebody, just, a normal going to work, anything like that. That's just my basic face steps. Feel free to subtract any of these steps if you don't feel like they're necessary for you. None of these are necessary. This is just what I do. So if you're like, that's super extra, I don't have time for that, just skip it. I have been building this routine since I was probably 14, so it didn't always have this many steps. Going ahead, tying my hair back so I don't get hair in my foundation. So I already have foundation on. I don't think it really matters how you apply your foundation. You can use, I used a sponge today, but sometimes I use a brush. I used to use my fingers. As long as it's the right shade and the right formula for your skin and you're blending it evenly, whatever you're using, I think that's fine. You'll notice I don't have concealer on right now. You can see my underbags. I'm 31, so I'm starting to get more darkness and creasing on my face. So after I would put foundation on, normally what I would do next, I'm looking in the mirror by the way, is apply concealer. I use a pretty high coverage concealer, and I'll just kind of swipe it on war paint style down the bridge of the nose. You'll notice this is just slightly lighter than my skin tone. I wouldn't go too much lighter because I do think that looks odd personally. That's just my opinion, to have something way lighter than your regular skin tone. But I just kind of put it in like areas that light would naturally hit your face and areas that I want to conceal, like my under eyes. And then just kind of pounce it in, or use a brush if that's what you prefer, or your fingers if you have no tools. When I started doing makeup, I had no tools, and I used my fingers for everything, and it worked just fine. So, okay. So just blend it out. Okay, you'll see already that looks brighter. I'll list everything I'm using below. I don't personally think the actual products that I'm using are what's really important here, because everybody's skin is different, and what works for you and what you want is going to be different than what works for me. So if there's still some spots that I want a little bit more coverage on, I'm having a breakout, like a hormonal breakout around my nose, so I'm putting a little extra there, and under my eyes, because genetically I have dark under eyes. So I add a little more there. Okay, and this is me. I like full coverage. I always have. If you're somebody who doesn't like to wear a lot of makeup and does not like how that looks, because it just isn't you, then don't do that. Okay, now I have very oily skin, and no matter the situation, I like to have my face completely set. So I powder my entire face. How hilarious I look at my things. I powder my entire face. You don't have to do that if you have naturally dry skin, and maybe you're not going to have your makeup on for that long, so you don't care how long it lasts. Me, if I'm putting it on, I'm expecting to have it on all day, 6+ hours. If it's a work day, I'll be there for 9 hours, so I need it to last 9 hours. So I powder my face. I'll usually start around my eyes, because that's where the concealer will crease first, so I want to set that first. I'm using a giant powder puff that I got at Sephora. Most loose powders, I am using a loose powder by the way, most loose powders will come with a puff. You can use that, it's fine. I just like this big one. Okay, I'm powdering literally my whole face, eyelids. Then next I'll go here because I'm getting older and I creased there. Some people, if you don't like powder all over your face, will just powder where they get oily, like in the T-zone, their nose and their forehead. But I have naturally oily skin, and I will get oily everywhere if I don't powder it. I just think that this makes it last longer. Like, it's, for me, it's not worth putting makeup on if it's not gonna last all day. Adding more loose powder here to the forehead. Nose. I'm not one of those people who likes to apply powder with a brush because I think that smears your foundation all over the place. But some people like that. Okay, neck. Get your neck. Assuming you put foundation there. Okay. This is gonna help any powder products apply a lot smoother. Okay. Face is totally set with powder. Next I will take a powder brush. This is just a big fluffy brush. And just wipe off any excess. I don't want powder all over the face. Okay. So that's it. You have a basic flat foundation now. Okay, now typically next, if I'm not trying to be extra, I will skip any contouring and I will just go for bronzer because bronzer is kind of like contour. Especially if you have a really neutral bronzer. So bronzer is just meant for like warming up the face. So I have a powder bronzer, pressed powder, boom. I take a brush. This one's got a bit of a taper to it, so it will kind of fit in certain areas of my face that I want it to. And so I'll go like kind of along underneath the cheekbone, sort of where you might naturally see a contour. Not too low. If you go too low, it'll change the shape of your face in an odd way. So sort of like maybe where you would contour. Essentially, we're doing the opposite of what we were doing with the concealer. Concealer, we were like highlighting areas light would hit you. Bronzer, we're deepening the perimeter of the face and adding just a little bit of warmth. Just make you look less flat. I've got kind of a medium complexion, so like I go kind of heavy on the bronzer, but you do not have to do that. The jawline. Again, if you're in a rush and you ain't got time for this, don't do all this. Or just, you know, bronze certain parts of your face and not the whole thing like I'm doing. Okay, and just a little bit down the neckline. Okay. And then sometimes I'll add like a little bit around the nose. If I'm ever using like a contour powder, which is just like a very neutral version of bronzer, then I would contour my nose a little bit, but I'm not doing that today. Okay, bronzer's done. Next is probably one of my favorite steps, which is blush. Get a blush brush. I don't know how else you would apply blush, honestly, without a brush. So this is the shape that I like for blush. It just fits my cheek nicely. I'll use, this is kind of a neutral tone. It's matte, not shiny. You know, find whatever color you like. Doesn't really matter. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. And then this is me personally. Like, some people will just blush right here, like boom, like on the apple of your cheek. I just from like observing celebrities and stuff like that, I like the kind of almost like sculpted, like going along top of your bronzer. So like up, higher up on your cheek and like back towards your hairline. I think that just like looks really nice in terms of like shaping the face. Like it adds another I don't know, dimension of like sculpting the face, and then adds color. For me, I really like that. This to me is probably one of the most, if I was gonna skip a step, I would skip bronzer and put on blush, because blush to me adds life to your face. It makes you look younger, it makes you look healthy. Especially me, because my skin tone, I don't really flush naturally, even if I'm like sweaty or embarrassed or whatever. Like, I don't really flush. So to me, blush has always been like, oh, I like look warm and alive. Oh. Coffee. Okay. Last step for complexion for me is highlighter. Again, not a necessary step. You do not need to do this. Nobody needs to do this. Taking a shade that goes, I'll probably like mix these two based on this tone my skin is right now. I'll take like a smaller brush. This is an e.l.f. like a cheap, I don't know what this was, $3 maybe from the drugstore. And I'll just like mix these, tap it off, and then apply to the top of the cheekbone just to add a little bit of extra something. This is not a super extreme highlight, so like for me this would be appropriate for work even. Okay. And you just keep going over. It's better to go in light layers and build than to put too much on, because it's hard to go backwards. So just build in light layers where you want it. A little on the bridge of the nose. Okay, personal tip from me to you. I hate when people highlight the tip of their nose. I think that looks not good. So I don't do that. Just the bridge. Don't be rude off the ball of your nose, because that makes your nose look bigger and rounder. And then Cupid's bow, which is right here. If you're feeling super extra, you can highlight wherever you want. Just remember that highlight emphasizes the texture on your skin. You're bringing attention to whatever you put. So don't be highlighting like over here, because that's the edges of your face. You don't want to do that. But some people I've seen put highlight, like, you can put it on your forehead, you can put it on your chin. If you're, like, feeling extra glowy, you can put it wherever you want. And that's pretty much it for the face. Like, face is done. Now, me personally, because I just, like, powdered all over my face, I have powder in my eyebrows right now. Powder in my eyebrows right now. So I would brush that out. I'm very fortunate to have pretty furry brows already, and I don't need to make them bigger. So, I'm not the person to go to for brow advice because I don't really do them. Also, I have bangs, so half the time you can't even see my brows. But if I do anything to my brows, which lately I've just been putting, what is this? A pomade or something? Dipbrow from Anastasia Beverly Hills. I essentially put like a brow mascara in my brows to just like give them a little bit of fullness and hold a little bit. Like just sort of fill them in enough. Okay. Give them a little bit of shape. Make them stand up. I like that like fluffy furry brow look. Like boy brows. Okay. So, but you don't have to do that. On an average work day, I'd probably just brush through them. I wouldn't be doing this. Okay, so that's brows. Brows are done for me. If you need real brow help, go to somebody who does their brows. And then typically I'd probably slap a lip balm on about now. Again, I have like powder on my lips a little bit. I'm not one of those people that puts foundation on their mouth. Okay, because it's winter, my lips are dry and crusty. I might take my hair out now, because since we have powder all over the face, I know my hair is not going to stick to my face anymore. So hair is out. Last steps. Okay, if this were just a regular work day, what I would do right now is just straight up apply mascara. If I have the time, I do think it's worth curling your eyelashes, but if you're afraid of eyelash curlers, don't worry about that. But I have been using an eyelash curler since I was like 13. To me, this makes a bigger difference than even just mascara. Like, my eyelashes are nice and long, but they are stick straight. So curling them makes a big difference, like opens up my eyes a lot more. Like, do you see that? I'm a girl now, look at that. Okay. And final step now would be mascara. Again, if you have extra time, like if you really wanted to just like put a little pizzazz in like a basic face like this, if you have like an extra 30 seconds, take whatever highlighter you used. So I'll take like this shade right here and put it on your inner corners. Literally use your finger. Okay, because your finger's going to warm up the formula really nicely. And just stick it in there. Okay, this will make your eyes look so much more open and awake. I typically don't have the time to do this if I'm going to work because I sleep in. But if I did, and I wasn't going to put any eyeshadow on at all, like I ain't got time for that. That's the only thing I would do, is add some inner corner highlight. Like, that's enough. And then mascara. Let me grab my mascara. Okay, here's a mascara. Boom. This is Maybelline Full and Soft. It's like an old type, not a new fancy kind. This is the waterproof version. I like the waterproof one because it's waxier. It holds the curl better. Some mascaras are really wet and they will uncurl my lashes. Okay, my in frame. There we go. You see, I'm kind of like blinking into it, wiggling the wand a little. Okay, top lashes. I personally always put mascara on my bottom lashes, but you don't have to do that. Not everybody does that. I just think I don't look right without my bottom lashes done. So I personally put mascara on my bottom lashes. I kind of like the look. I think it's kind of like doll-like. Probably especially because I have like relatively thick lower lashes. Okay, I got a little bit on my skin, which happens when you put mascara on. Sometimes I got a little bit right here, so I'm gonna wipe it off. Okay, that's pretty much it. Last step I would do, if you feel like you could just use your lip balm and just be done. But I would probably typically put either a lipstick or a lip gloss on, just to get my day going. I'm a pretty big lip gloss fiend, so let me grab one. Oh, here I have one. Fenty lip gloss. Overpriced, but very nice. And just add a little shine. And you're done. So thanks for hanging out with me, and I hope this was helpful and informative. Leave me comments if you have any suggestions, critiques, things you want to see. If you want me to slow something down or go over something again, just let me know. But thanks for hanging out with me.